Are you?
Oh, now we're recording.
Now we're recording.
Welcome back to the Socially Distant Tea Time. I'm Kaitlin McGreyes with Evelyn Page and Laura Otten, licensed clinical social workers and maternal mental health specialists. Week 8 of quarantine. I am drinking not tea, but water, because one of our fun things of quarantine is that we're ordering so much more things from the internet, or so many more things than we normally do. And one of those things is straws. And my entire family is much more hydrated than we usually are.
Mm-hmm. Reusable straws, that looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure you get the straw cleaning brush because it will get moldy. Okay, good.
Thank you.
I had actually gotten a set of those too, and I was really excited that they came with the cleaner thing.
Yeah. It's the little things these days. It's straws. That's exciting.
Right.
My whole family went outside this morning to watch the sanitation workers pick up the recycling. The entire family in the front yard, even saying hello. Yeah, it's the small things right now.
Yeah. It's really, though, like the sense I have from week 8, and different friends I've spoken to, like, I don't want it to end. I do. I want the like stress of it to end, but I really like everyone's at home and we're in a nice routine, and I don't know, it's feeling really good.
Well, you're in your groove, Kaitlin. That's great.
Yeah. I think personally for me, my husband does a lot. I think I'm like the traditional male in the family in that I don't do nearly like, you know how most women take on the brunt of the housework and the childcare and they try to, and then when they go back to work, like that doesn't actually lessen for them. That's not our setup. So when he's here, the house is cleaner, everybody's a lot calmer. So that's been really helpful, I think. I don't want to brag or anything, but that's
sounds a little brag.
A little bit.
My husband is also really good with kind of like the housework stuff and like picking up the slack, and you know, there have been days that are a little bit rougher for me. He just jumps right in. So I do feel, I don't even want to say I should feel lucky, because I do think if you have a partnership, it should be balanced. Like I shouldn't have to ask to do things.
What comes to mind is my father saying there are no shoulds in life. It should be, but also we can feel lucky.
Yeah,
it is the way it should be. Because I think in my doula work, it really surprised me. I mean, doula work is so unique, and it's quite like therapy, but it's like you guys have I think a longer relationship with clients usually, and so like I would just as a doula meet somebody at a time of kind of like already heightened, emotions, and then have this very intense, very short relationship with them, witness like the most incredible transformative moment of their lives, have a little bit more contact, and then disappear. It's like a very interesting, not disappear, nobody's like abandoning, but it just naturally you move on. And to get this like glimpse into how their relationships are and how they live. And I don't think I knew how people lived until I became a doula, and I started like, oh, people are putting up with a lot of things I would not personally put up with, like at all. So yeah, I don't know.
And they may be afraid to talk about and not speak up about, whether it's because they might not feel like they should expect any different or they deserve any different. It's what's been modeled to them their whole life, so they might not think anything of it, or they're embarrassed by it. Like, well, what does that mean about me if I'm not getting that sort of support? So getting that glimpse, everyone's lives are more messy when you're in it, and you can definitely speak to that as a doula. It's always messier, but it is an honor to be let into someone's private life, because they become very vulnerable that way.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of feel like there's this sort of privilege almost, as kind of people trusting you and opening up to you as a therapist and letting you into their most vulnerable side. But there's such reward in that too. And I think, Laura, you probably agree, just kind of seeing when people start to make those transformations in their life and see them do better. It's something like really rewarding to kind of see, seeing people go through their most vulnerable times and being able to come out on the other side a stronger person.
I think with all of our work, since it's surrounding motherhood, it's like, as a doula, I think the things that come up in labor and birth and pregnancy, and then on you guys on the, you know, postpartum side, it's like the things that might have worked in a pattern in a relationship and kept everybody like even keeled, when they're heightened by stress, similar to a pandemic, you know, like the entire stress level just goes up. And then I think things that maybe worked when stress levels were low do not work. Like this is just a small example, but like my husband and I, very happily married, and then we redid our kitchen. And the stress of raising 3 small children in a home that was under construction, like it almost broke me specifically. It was like incredible how much stress it caused, which then caused stress in our relationship, and like things came out. But I think it's for the better. Like we've since had a lot of conversations about our communication, our expectations, and our different roles and everything. But it was like, it's when there's this heightened stress of either pregnancy or motherhood, or pregnancy, motherhood, and a pandemic, you know, whatever happens to come up, we see these, it's like the things that were working for us before, just they come out in sometimes really surprising ways. You know, it's like you don't even recognize the pattern until it's dysfunctional in a situation like this. Are you guys seeing that with your clients, that like maybe relationship issues are coming up, or there's like additional stress because the baseline is so high right now?
I think no, go ahead, Evelyn.
Sorry, yeah, no, I think definitely things are coming up for couples, and they're also kind of learning now how to kind of navigate that communication, or what was working or what's not working now, and kind of taking stock of things too. I think for better for worse, like people are kind of in this routine now going into week 8, and you know, we've kind of settled into it, and so now other things are just being highlighted. And I think for a lot of people in a good way, you know, things that they do want to work on. You know, they have this commitment to this partner, but like you said, Kaitlin, like things just start like coming up to the surface because things are more stressful. There's more things coming up.
And you don't have your normal coping skills because you've used all the coping for the pandemic.
Right. Or escaping, whether that's escaping at staying at work late, or staying out with girlfriends, or just avoiding, you can't do that anymore. And to look at it from the perspective of, all right, this is tough in our relationship right now. And this is true postpartum or pandemic or both. This is a great opportunity to actually talk about these things. And some of the couples will bring up, if they did like premarital counseling, like, okay, here's an opportunity to work through some things that we didn't have to back when we were dating and carefree and life was easier. And so to see it as, all right, here's an opportunity to get stronger, because this isn't the last time we all go through something hard. We're going to get older. There's going to be stressors down the road. And if you're in a better place now because you communicated and got better coping skills and better support structures and better communication, then you're set up better in the future. And we all know couples who rely on work and the distraction of children to get them through their relationship through childhood, and then the children leave. And you know, and then what? Where's your relationship? And you don't suddenly start running back to each other in a meadow of flowers after the kids go off to college.
Great though, if there was like a ceremonial running through the meadow of flowers,
we can recreate that. If you've been separated, if you've been slowly separating through the difficult times over the past, you know, decade, 16 years, whatever it is, then it's going to keep getting worse. So here's an opportunity to actually talk about these things and balance that workload and discuss some of the things that have been getting in the way of feeling close to your partner.
Yeah, and even I know too, some couples that have brought up having gone to couples counseling, premarital counseling or whatever, you know, they did get to a good place, and they had all these skills, but as time kind of went on, you know, things were going well, and they didn't really need to sort of like work on their relationship, so to speak, and things were fine. But now this is like, you know, the stresses that are coming up now, they're kind of taking this opportunity to go back and say like this, you know, we do have these skills. We haven't needed to use them as much, but now in this kind of heightened time, let's put those things back in place so that, you know, we are able to kind of cope and manage as a couple together.
Yeah. I hope women are and couples are doing that, because I would imagine that there has got to be couples out there right now that have drifted so far apart and are now home together, and everything's becoming crystal clear just how far apart they are, just how little communication they have.
Phew, excuse me.
Is that you, Rona?
No. Springtime. That's what
Allergy. But, you know, like I would imagine, you know, it's lovely to like speak to you. You guys talk all about like communication, and it's wonderful the work you guys do. But like, there's gotta be women and men and people sitting in a house going, you know, like this is not working.
There
It's
definitely
not
is. Yeah, I think there's definitely that. And I think just in the way that kind of this stress could kind of crystallize that, you know, I do want to make this relationship work and I'm going to put in the effort. It could also kind of be the other way of recognizing this isn't the relationship that I want to have, and what are the steps I'm going to take to make sure that I am. For a lot of people, I think it's demonstrating or wanting to show their kids like what a healthy relationship should look like. And if I'm not there, what do I have to change in my life? Maybe that does mean a separation, which is really hard to think about, but
especially when you're not allowed out of the house. But
right, yeah, you know what that's going to look like for many people is going to be, I mean, it's going to be something to go through. It's going to be tough, but if ultimately knowing that this is not a good relationship or the relationship that you want your kids to see, I mean, the relationship we see in our parents is like that first model of what relationships are. And I think many parents don't want their kids to see sort of a loveless marriage, and, you know, and do want their kids to find somebody and be happy and have a good, healthy, balanced relationship. So, I mean, it's definitely going to take some navigating right now, but
it's so common, the phrase, we're going to stay together for the kids. Like, I'm going to stay for the kids. And so I'm a child of divorce. My parents got divorced when they separated. The divorce took forever, but when I was 5 years old. And, you know, it was hard at the time, but I also was a kid and didn't know anything different. So everybody's great now and everyone has holidays together. But I also see my parents like having found other partners and having evolved like into their own people. And so while it was difficult to have my parents get divorced when I was so young, and I look at my kids now and I'm like, I can't, like, I was such an adult in my head when I was 5, and I look at my kids now and I'm like, that's how little I was, you know. Raising kids, it like brings up all this other stuff. I'm like, oh, that's what happened to me. But I can't imagine them staying together and being miserable. It would have been so much worse than them just like accepting, this is the truth, we're not working together, you know, let's try something, even though it's painful in the immediate, and it's scary in the immediate, I think, to take a risk that leaving might be better than staying, you know. It's just like so much unknown. But yeah, I definitely still get that sentiment. And then you see, you know, like people who are 60 and 70 who did stay together for the kids and who are miserable, just miserable. So like, we're not telling everybody to go get divorced, but there was a thread in Bad Moms of Long Island. I don't know if you guys have heard of that group. It's like a plug for that group, but somebody wrote like, why do you think there's so much divorce these days? And then like I didn't look at all the comments because it's a huge group. Laura, you're right over there. But like the general sentiment was like, because we don't value things and because we throw things away. And I was like, no, maybe it's because women have been abused and in miserable marriages and never had money and earning power and strength and support to leave and try and be happy and do something for themselves. You know, like, I don't think divorce and splitting up always has to be seen as a negative thing, because I think very often, even though it's difficult, it can be a really powerful choice and a really powerful force of good for someone to get away from a bad situation.
No, I like how you put that as it obviously is not something that we go into a relationship planning on, and it's, so I wouldn't label as a good thing, but it can be transformative. It can be good for you and for your partner and for the kids, because staying in a loveless or a marriage that is unhappy is so detrimental to everyone involved. And it can be a powerful thing to separate. And I've been seeing the phrase like a bonus dad or a bonus mom, bringing in whether it's partners or step parents and seeing them as like, our family isn't that picture perfect family, but no one is, and we can create our own. And some people too, I work with some who don't have relationships with their parents the way that they want, and we grieve not having that mom or dad you wanted, but then finding a surrogate mom or dad. Sometimes we have to create our own families in some ways, and the bottom line of it is believing that you deserve better and saying, I'm worth a happy relationship, I'm worth being treated well. And if that is not what your marriage is, then taking those steps to make the change.
Right. And sometimes it seems too like if we've had patterns of behavior that don't serve us, and they are patterns we were using when we got with our partner, and then you have personal growth, and it's like you're setting boundaries, and you're realizing this isn't, and your partner is still in that toxic kind of pattern and not really willing to change. It's, sometimes it can be actually a sign of growth to draw a boundary and not be in that kind of relationship anymore. I'm very happily married, by the way.
No, it sounds like it's great. No, but
everything's okay.
Women get support, like women and the men too really need support. We need to go back to your partner cannot be your everything. You need some outside support. There are so many great couples therapists out there, so many great techniques to incorporate and to help you through the process, whether that's getting closer to the partner you have or taking steps in the other way. But getting that support, realizing you're not alone, and maybe working on that, I deserve what you deserve and what you're worth. Yeah. Because so many of us have struggled with that in our lives, and that's a common issue to have too, and not even realize it sometimes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I liked what you said, Laura, about that our partners can't be our everything. And I think, many people kind of go into that, like, oh, my husband, my wife, my partner should be everything to me, and I should be able to get everything from them. And that always just feels like so much pressure. If my husband relied on me for everything, plus all the other things that I have to do in life, that just feels like overwhelming and too much. And so it can feel, I don't know, really liberating to know that you can kind of spread out what you need amongst different people, whether it's friends or, and I think too, Kaitlin, kind of, the whole kind of mission behind Be Her Village too. It's like you need all of these people in your lives to help you, and that's okay.
Definitely.
Better than okay. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Especially postpartum time, when the mom feels like she's giving her all to her baby, and she should, like, really, and especially in the early weeks, she is giving her all to, trying to recover and care for the baby. She can't give to her partner during that time, and maybe he's used to getting the emotional support from her or the housework from her. And just to speak on those like heteronormative but it applies to all partnerships. We all have our roles in the family, and postpartum time changes those roles. And sometimes we try to go back to them, and we can, and sometimes we can't. But bringing in that extra support as, no, this isn't like a luxury, this is a necessity for me to stay well. And if I'm staying well, then our relationship can stay well, I can give you support, and I can take care of the kids too. But it has to start with the individual.
Yes, what you just touched on, of the changes postpartum. We aired the podcast, the Be Her Village podcast aired my episode with Heather Simonson, who's a sex therapist, this week.
I can't wait to listen to that.
Yeah, I listened to it again today. I mean, I listened to it like when I recorded it, and I also was the one that did it, but but it was so much fun to record. But she is like such a wealth of knowledge, and we touched on that, of like all the changes that come postpartum. And, it's the expectations of housework and attention and stuff, but it's also the woman's body, because when you don't have any kids, your body is like, it's sexual for many. This is a generalization, but for many people, it's a sexual thing, and you and your partner have access to it. And it's it's not utilitarian, you can be really sensual and really sexual when you want and how you want. Actually, I have a little funny story related to this that was not on the podcast.
Ooh, bonus material.
It's way too much information, but I'm going to go for it. So anyway, in the podcast, we talked about how like the shift from your body being there for your partner and yourself to derive sexual pleasure from into now it's here to care for a baby, and how the demands of caring for the baby and the physical, like just literally being touched and nursing and the birth is no matter how you give birth, it's a number on your body, and how it's not really accessible anymore. So anyway, I have this really funny story. We were upstate at my friend's farmhouse, and my son was like under a year. It was my first baby. And I don't know the circumstances, but I was upstairs, like laying in bed with the baby who was awake, and my husband was downstairs. And for some reason, I don't know what I did, but I was being playful. And I got like my camera, my phone, and I was like showing him like my boob, like on a video, like I was being sexual, like this is great. And so my nipple was exposed, my breast was exposed, and I was like being playful. And on the video, my son like saw the nipple, like clamped and latched on.
What a great metaphor for
laughing, but
into motherhood.
It just summed up the whole thing. Like, here's me being cute and playful, like giving him a little show, and boom, here comes baby. Baby saw a nipple. Like, baby was not hungry. Baby just saw a nipple, and it was.
He said mine. If he were one of the seagulls in Finding Nemo, it would be mine.
Mine, right? Like the crabs or the seagulls.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So it was really just like I wish I had that phone and that video, not that I would share it, but like it was just the perfect example of like, here, let my boob be sexual. No.
Nope.
It is food. Oh, yeah.
Well, I can't wait to listen to that, because every single mother I work with, every single couple, this is an issue because of your body changes and touched out. I can't wait to hear what she says about that.
Yes. Well, she didn't know the phrase, actually.
Oh, really?
Really?
I mean, she knows all about it, but she was like, no, I've never heard that before. It's a thing.
It sums it up so well. So even if you're not nursing, even if you're, I am like 20 months postpartum from my last child, and I feel touched out at the end of the day because they're on you, physically on you all the time, and all you want to do is have that space. And so that's for every single mom out there. So if you're listening to this and that resonates with you, it's not you alone. It's in fact like 99.8% of moms with small children feel that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And now definitely, because it's just, and I have, like you, like my youngest is 4, but I posted a picture on like the Instagram stories for Be Her Village, because I'm like literally trying to work, and the kids are all independent, and I'm trying to work, and I have a dog that's like a newborn. Anytime there's a lap, he squeezes in, and then the kids come for the dog. So I have 2 kids, I have a dog, and I'm like, this is my life. There's no separation. Me and my husband call it the mama magnet, and we've joked about it forever, but there's just like, we will be sitting in the living room, me and my husband, and they will just be in contact with me. All of them. The dog, the cat, the 3 kids, like everybody's in touch with me. And the husband sits by himself. I'm like,
I have that exact experience. Like, we could be just finishing up whatever. It's the moment I go to sit on like my little corner of the couch where I like to sit.
You're not allowed.
And it's kind of like they just slowly like creep in, and then I have, one on my lap, the other, the baby somehow gets herself perched up on my shoulder, actually, like kind of leaning against the couch. And my husband I'm like, we have a pretty big couch, and there's all this space, and yet they're all in that one little square of the couch. And my husband's there, and he's like, I'm here, like, somebody can come sit on my lap, and they're like, no, I want mommy.
The mommy.
Yeah. And speaking of which, this is a good segue before we end to Mother's Day. And what does every mother want for Mother's Day? Time alone.
Yeah. I know.
And that's why
in quarantine. What are you guys doing? Let's end with that. What are you guys doing for Mother's Day?
So I asked that I have some alone time.
Okay.
And some time, so I have a neighbor, a mom friend who lives 1 block over. And so husbands are taking the kids out to do a drive-by for, their families, and we are going to sit in the yard very far apart, but with no children, because we haven't interacted in now 8 weeks without the kids. So we're going to sit far apart from each other and have an uninterrupted conversation where we can actually focus on each other. And then I want just alone time in the house with a quiet house. And then sometime, my favorite dinner. I've requested my favorite dinner.
Awesome.
And sometime
What's your favorite dinner? I'm so curious.
Steak and steak and asparagus, because it's that time of year. Probably some sweet potato. And so just, I think having that alone time, and a lot of moms feel guilty about that, of wanting that. But I wanted to bring this up because of this overtouch conversation. Like for Father's Day, my husband wants to do stuff with us and do stuff with the kids. Great, wonderful. But he gets to have that, throughout the weeks. And I don't get it. It's more precious for me. But I want all the moms out there to know, take some time for yourself and don't feel guilty about it. Enjoy that. And then when you come back with your kids, you're going to enjoy it more.
Me and my sister-in-law already made plans for next Mother's Day to go to the spa, just me and her. Like we're going to see our own mothers the Saturday before. By the way, Mom, if you're watching this, that's what we're doing. And we're going to go to the spa, just the two of us, because it's true. It's like such a strange thing. Like you feel guilty even on Mother's Day that you're not soaking up the time, with your kids. But sometimes to be a good mom, you need a break. That's certainly the case for me. Yeah.
We haven't totally finalized our plans, but I think I would like some alone time too, but I would like to spend it cooking. I mean, I cook all the meals, and that's totally, I love cooking. So if I could, and right now I'm cooking with the kids, which, usually is fun, but it creates a bigger mess. But I would like just a few hours where I could cook something that's like kind of complicated and messy and in my own way.
It's like music, like red wine. Oh.
Yeah, and that's just some time alone for myself. So that's kind of what I would like to do. Probably the night before, we'll do like kind of family movie night where the kids can crawl all over me, and that's fine. But on Mother's Day, I think some of that alone time would be nice. I mean, we'll probably have breakfast together, and then after that, some time alone. Mother's Day, is like I know it's a really happy time, but it's a little bit bittersweet because not all of my children are alive. And so I know a lot of mothers feel that way too when they're celebrating. So sometimes it is time for me to also remember the daughter that I don't have here on earth. So I think that'll be coming up for many people too, that many moms may not share.
Right.
That and complicated relationships with their own moms.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Evelyn, that it's more complicated than that. If you've lost your mom or didn't have the relationship that you wanted with her or whatever it may be, it can bring up that mixed feeling. Like for you, Evelyn, you have these two beautiful children, and then you're remembering the daughter you lost.
Mm-hmm.
So that mixture of gratitude, but also sadness. And to all the moms out there, validating that the day doesn't have to be all sunshine and rainbows. It can be remembering and honoring that grief or sorrow or whatever that feeling might be.
Thank you for bringing that up, Evelyn, because I think kind of like with everything else with motherhood, there's like this pressure for it to be happy and sunshines all the time. And like, you know what? Motherhood is freaking hard. Even when it all on the cover, when all your children are alive and your births were easy and your house is clean, like it's still hard. So then you add in those other things, and it's such an internal experience. And so Mother's Day can encompass all of that: alone time with your family, time feeling happy and grateful, time being sad, and
Mother's Day is interesting because, last Sunday was International Bereaved Mother's Day, which is sometimes a little bit weird that bereaved mothers have to have a separate day, but they're still a mother. But Mother's Day was originally started because of somebody who lost their mother.
Really?
Yeah. So it's just an interesting kind of, just way that we celebrate it. And Bereaved Mother's Day started, I think it was like 2010 or something, that it became, recognized by, I should know this, but I forget the woman who started Bereaved Mother's Day. which many people don't know about unless you become a bereaved mother. I didn't know about it until I lost a daughter. So there are all these kind of mixed feelings around this time, Mother's Day, Father's Day. There are a lot of invisible mothers, as people.
And there's also
people don't have children with them on earth,
who
but
want
are
to be
mothers.
mothers too, who desperately in their heart crave nothing more to be a mother, and can't be right now, or can't be ever, or aren't, and that's really sad too. There was an image I saw on Facebook, like making its round, maybe last Mother's Day or the year before, but it was like, for Happy Mother's Day to all these different people who don't have that relationship with their mother, people who want to be mothers and aren't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Different flowers for each one. I thought that too was beautiful.
I thought that was so beautiful, because it really just recognizes, it's mothers can be anything you really want it to be. It's that shared communal sense of motherhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is the week, it's Maternal Mental Health Week. So, around Mother's Day, not coincidentally, but a time for us to be checking in with mental health and reaching out to supports, and knowing, that you're not alone if you're having a hard time and struggling, and that there are a lot of resources out there to support you, whatever your motherhood looks like, as Kaitlin said.
Yeah, wherever you are in your journey in motherhood.
Excellent. All right. Well, ladies, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. And
happy early Mother's Day.
Happy early Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Everyone enjoys their little time.
Enjoy their
Enjoy your time without your children. Bye.
Bye.